Hello and welcome to Channels Book Club. My name is Olakunle Kasumo, and it's great to be on this show as always. Well, I've been digging into my library and just generally looking for books that I've kept there for a while but not read. And I just stumbled on this. Fire and Fury inside the Trump White House. You know, Trump is making the news all over the world. I mean, Trump is just news. News is Trump. Trump is news these days. And I mean, today, Venezuela, another day, it's one thing or another. So this just caught my attention. I saw this and I said, oh, did I have this book? Fire and Fury inside the Trump White House. And I just, pulled it out. And that's something about books. There's always a book for everything imaginable. You're trying to learn something, there's a book. You're trying to know more about something, there's a book. You're trying to be entertained, there's a book. There's a book on any topic imaginable. So all you need to do is to find that book that fits into what you're doing now. And it'll be a lot easier to read. If you are somebody who finds it difficult reading, just grab a book that catches your fancy. The topic catches your fancy, or you're trying to develop a skill. Anyway, I'm going to leave our guest for today to share her ideas, her thoughts on that. You will learn a lot from her. Imagine somebody who in 2025 read 365 books. Yes, you heard me right. 365 books. That's almost a book a day. In 2025. Incredible. Well, she's our guest for today, and she'll be sharing her reading passion, reading experiences, tips for all of us as we dive into 2026. You might want to make reading one of your to-dos for the year. There are a lot of benefits to that. Enjoy this.
Blessing Okwuofu, popularly known as the Reading Mom, is a Nigerian internal auditor and a reading culture advocate. Blessing is a credentialed professional with FCA, CIA, CISA, and CFE certifications. She is known for her reading discipline, having read 350 books in 2024 and 365 books in 2025. Blessing joins Channel's Book Club to discuss her reading passion and habit.
Blessing, nice to have you on Channel's Book Club.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here.
It's great to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you.
I finally met, no, not finally, because I meet people who outread me a lot. So you're one of them. Another person who is outreading me. But it's great to have you here and to hear about how you're passionate about reading, how much you read. So let's talk about that passion of yours, that habit of yours, and how it's impacting on your life and so on. But permit me to say, let's not make this an interview. Let's make this a gist, a conversation between two people.
I love talking about books.
Okay, so fire me back if you want to fire me back, or ask your own question if you want. Feel free. Let's just have a nice conversation about. So, in 2025, you read 365 books.
Yes, right.
That's an average of one book a day.
Yes.
Incredible. Incredible.
Yeah.
Now, in 2024, you read about 300 books.
350.
350 books in 2024. 365 in 2025.
Yes.
In the last 6 years, you've done about 1,000, how many books? 1,600 or something?
Yeah, 1,700, thereabouts. Yes.
So basically, you've been doing more.
Yes.
Increasing the number of books you read every year in the last 6 years, gradually. Why is that? How do you do that? I mean, 365 books in 1 year.
I mean, it gets surprising to me too. So I've always loved to read, right? From when I was much younger At some point, we didn't have a TV in my house, and so and we really couldn't play outside, so the default was to read. And so I've always just loved to read. And then as we began to have social media accounts, I began to share about my reading just for fun of it. And then I also began to note down the books I read. I just use Excel because I work with Excel at work every day. So I just use Excel just to note it down just for fun, right? And then I think I started in 2016 thereabouts. Anyway, in 2018, I noted down about 130-something books.
That you had read that year?
That I had read that year. And then, it just kind of blew up a little bit. And then I was like, okay, really,
what's happening here?
I just love to read. And so, well, that prompted me to start up my Instagram blog at readingmom.com. And then I started talking about books. I started connecting with other book lovers and sharing about books, and I then discovered that the more I read, the more I connect with people. The faster I read, the more access to books I have. People will recommend books. You want to read what other people are reading, to be able to talk about it with them, and just enjoying the arts of reading, enjoying the hobby of reading, just makes me keep reading more and more. That's just it.
Fantastic. I mean, incredible. Let me go back to your childhood, because that's where the foundation usually is laid. You didn't have TV in your home.
My home now?
Then? Back then, you said something like
that? Yes,
at some point in time.
For religious reasons, we did not have TV in my house.
Okay, so there was no TV.
Yeah.
And that meant, of course, you needed to be occupied.
Yes.
So TV is a problem.
No.
You can't say that on a TV station.
No, I won't. No, I won't say TV is a problem. I do not believe it is. I do have a TV in my house right now. But I just use it as an example that was the default. And so that created the habit, and then it led to a passion, right? So I won't say eliminate TV. Instead, I would say start creating the habits very early. For example, for my children, for my girls, I have 2 girls. I started reading to them from when they were babies, with all these board books. So if you come to my house, there are books everywhere, right? And then I set reading goals for them also. Okay, read the book, read your Bible, read your devotional, and all of that. But then also sometimes, the same way related to no TV, there are times when they are not allowed to watch any TV. And then they pick up a book and read. So it's just finding a way to balance it out, not to say you're eliminating TV. Totally. Of
course, you can't even sell that to me.
Yeah.
Not here or anywhere else.
No.
Okay, so, so that story, you didn't have TV, so you had time to read.
Yeah.
Your parents must have encouraged you to read a lot, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the backstory.
Yes.
All right. So you grew up being a reader.
Yes.
Okay, let's fast forward to 365 books.
Okay.
Now, how did you read 365 books? Because it's a book a day, averagely.
Yeah, average. Yeah.
Okay. An average-sized book has about 200 pages, 90,000 words.
Okay, 300.
So they say, yeah?
300.
Average-sized. Now, so how did you read that much? Were you completing a book a day? How was it working for you?
So I actually did not pick a book and sit down and say, oh, I must finish this book in a day. And actually, every day, I have at least 5-6 books that I'm reading, that I'm currently reading, that are open.
Okay.
You get. So I typically just so for fiction, right? So I read mostly fiction. So for fiction,
you read mostly fiction.
Mostly fiction.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Yeah. So for fiction, again, it's a hobby. It's the same way people watch TV. You relax. You just want to. So that's the same way I relax. I want to pick a book. I want to read. For non-fiction, I pick books I want to read for the month, and then I make myself read a chapter a day before I read my fiction. So for Christian non-fiction, I will typically do my 1 chapter in the morning, like a devotional. Okay. So I just do my 1 chapter and I leave it. That's it for that day. For my non-fiction, the other motivational book, my one chapter typically around lunch, during lunch, or immediately I get home before I start reading my fiction, right? As for the fiction, I just read as it interests me. So I can actually read a couple of chapters here in this book and drop it. And there are some books that I actually can sit and finish it there and then if that's interesting.
Do you read
that's
fast?
Engrossing. So that is the main thing. The main thing is that I read very fast. And because, when you do something over and over again for a very long period of time, you get better at it, you get faster at it. So I believe because I read consistently over the years, I keep reading faster and faster every year.
So your eyes are used to the text, so you move. Your eyes move along the lines.
You
very fast.
faster.
Did you study speed reading?
No.
Not at all.
No, not at all.
Okay, now what genre? You said you read mostly
fiction.
Fiction.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So, if you are not reading fiction, what are you reading?
So I read a wide variety, right? So for example, each year for my fiction, I just read as it comes. But my goal every year is to read one Christian nonfiction per month, spiritual development, and one other nonfiction. And this other nonfiction can be motivational, self-help books, can be autobiography, can be biography, can be historical, can be political, a bit of poetry if it's interesting, so just anything.
You've got a mix. You have you combine. You have wide interest.
Even for the fiction, diverse. Just whatever really catch. For the non-fiction, I'm usually a little bit more deliberate to say, okay, this month I want to read this thing, and well, I have a book club, so we have themes for the month, and so we select books based on the month, so we ensure that we cover a variety during the year. But for fiction, it's just majorly, the authors I like, what I'm in the mood for, recommendations that I've seen, and... Yeah.
Okay, let's get a bit practical now. You are an accountant,
yes.
Auditor.
Internal auditor.
Auditor. You're an auditor. You are a mom of 2.
Yes.
You are a wife.
Yes.
You've got a social life.
Yes, I do.
How do you, a typical day, you're at work, 9 to 5, what happens to you when you leave in terms of reading? When do you read?
At work, lunchtime, whenever I have lunch, some days I don't have lunch. So whenever I have lunch, I read my one chapter of my non-fiction.
Is that not going to make you boring? Right. You don't mix with your friends, your colleagues and all that. So you just sit by your phone, yes. read. That's all you do.
Yes.
Boring.
Yes, boring.
Then what happens after work?
Then after work, so on a good day, say I get home 6 p.m. and then I do not actually sleep very early. So let's say 6 p.m. to say 1 p.m. So 6 p.m.
So you're still awake by 1 p.m.
1 a.m. Right?
1 a.m.
Yes. So 6 p.m. The girls are doing their homework. While they're doing their homework, I can be there with them. I can be reading a book and just, okay, what are you doing there? Okay, check it. You get so. Yeah. I don't have to be on my own just reading. I can be doing other things. So the evening. So we're there. We're spending the evening together. They're doing their homework. They've progress to also reading their Bible or reading a book or something. So we're doing it together. So all of those evening activities, we can do it together while I'm reading. And then when everybody goes to bed, I then have
You mentioned you don't have TV, right?
No, we have TV.
Oh, okay. I thought you said.
Oh, we have TV.
I thought you said you don't have TV.
Yes, I do watch a bit of TV.
Okay.
Maybe like 1 hour, 2 hours.
Okay.
Yes.
Then
so let's say 8 to 10. Okay. Right. Then 10 o'clock, I'm in bed with my book.
Sacrosanct.
Yes.
You have to be reading by 10.
Yes.
Till 1.
Maybe to 12.
12
to 12.
Okay, interesting.
So you can see that at least I have like 3 to 4 hours.
The problem, I would like you to speak to this, is for many people, because I meet people who say, I want to read, but I don't have time to read. I mean, many people like that. What do you have to say about that? Is it true that people don't have time to read?
So I strongly believe that we make time for things that we like. So yes, there can be times in your life, there can be seasons where you are actually that very busy. But for most people, it's not the whole 365 days in a year. And when people say, oh, I'm very busy, there's still one thing that they do to relax. You can say, oh, I'm very busy. I just need to relax before I go to bed. I quickly watch this football match, this, this TV series, or scroll on social media, check up what is going on. So we create, whether consciously or unconsciously, we create time for things that we love, which is why I try to make people come from getting to love reading first, right? When you love reading, you will find time. You will just, and then there are then other ways that we can speak on. I can speak on them now or later. There are then other ways I can then deliberately create time for reading.
So, okay, so your advice to such people is?
My advice to such people is, I always tell people, I want to read. The first thing is, what do you find very interesting? Don't forget whether it's non-fiction, whether it's fiction. Forget about that. Even if it's a children's book that you want to start with. A book that you would find so interesting that you do not want to put down. Start with that. That's for people that have not really started reading at all. That's the very first thing. Start with a book that you don't want to put down. Then take that book with you everywhere you go. Right? So if, for example, you're in traffic, you're not the one driving, and you can read in motion, you can be reading the book. You go for an appointment, you're waiting for somebody to attend to you, you can get out the book and start reading. While you're eating, you can be reading. Again, it comes down to the first point. When the book is so interesting, you find that you want to find out what happened. You actually will not be able to put it down. And so when you do something consistently, it then becomes a habit, right? So your reading is then associated with pleasure in your mind, right? Then you can then begin to lay structure and say, okay, now I want to expand my reading. Then I'm going to read this kind of books, those kind of books.
But it's quite, the world has changed a lot. Today's digital world, access to mobile phones, access to internet, broadband, so there are alternative sources of entertainment. Yes. Because part of what you get from books is entertainment. You're reading a nice novel. It's giving you fun, whether it's romance or action or adventure or whatever. Now, you can get the same romance, action, adventure in a TV series or a movie. Back in the days, it was more difficult to access those things than now, where at the punch of a button, you can get anything you want, whatever. So there's that competition. And then you also read for education, so you can also get that on your phone. So what is the argument for reading? If you say I will learn from reading, and I can learn from my phone, from YouTube and all that. If I can be entertained, if you say entertainment, and I can be entertained on my phone, what is the argument for reading, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I always say that reading first and foremost is a hobby for me, but like you said, there are other hobbies. So what is the advantage? And the reason why I'm so glad that my hobby is reading. Right, so there are so many studies that have shown the impact of reading on your brain development. So many studies on how reading reduces your stress, on how, of course, we know the easy one, your vocabulary is improved. One that a lot of people don't know about is empathy.
Empathy?
Right? Yes, empathy. Actually, fiction especially, because when you're reading, reading takes you into the minds of the characters, more than a movie can do to you, because in a movie you're seeing what the character is doing. But when you're reading a book, the book takes you into the mind, so you can understand the emotions, you can understand the situation, the context. So it helps you to understand people better, helps you to understand different perspectives better, right?
Yeah.
So you understand different culture, some cultural backgrounds for some decisions, for why people act the way they do.
Yeah. Finally, I'm blessed because time is not our friend. Do you have a favorite book? That's hard for somebody like you, right?
Yes.
So let me make it easier. Let me make it easier for you. Let me make it easier and say, can you share with us some books that have been outstanding for you? We've got just about a minute. Maybe I'd like to just run through them. Some books that have really made a difference. Maybe in entertainment terms, we really enjoyed reading them, or in learning terms.
Okay, so I really would talk mostly about authors, really.
Okay.
So for Christian books, I love Kenneth Hagin and Andrew Womack books.
Okay.
So one book that stands out for motivational books is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I love that book. I've read it over and over again, and I always recommend it to people because it breaks down how you can develop great habits in simple terms, in practical terms. And I even modified it, for the reading habits. I also like The Purpose-Driven Life. So many motivational books. For authors, for fiction, I keep discovering new authors every day. But for now, I'll say, of course, Chimamanda Adichie from Time is one of my favorite authors. For one of my favorite romance authors, Nigerian authors, Adesua Omanuokede, I recommend that to everyone. And unless you don't like romance, but if you like romance, please pick up Adesua Omanuokede's books. I read a lot of biblical fiction books, Tessa Afshar, Cornelia Corset, Meso Andrews. For thriller books, I like Freda McFadden. I discovered Steve Kavanagh last year, and I've read all his books. The older books, Sidney Sheldon, the Jeffrey Archers, John Grishams, I like those two.
I
can't go on and on. I can't go on.
Blessed, thank you very much for joining us on Channels Book Club.
Thank you so much for having me, for giving me an opportunity to talk about books. I can talk about books for hours.
We know you can. We know you definitely can. You definitely can. And hopefully we'll have you back to talk about specific titles where maybe we can review them together.
I'll be glad.
Great. Nice to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Amazing. They're amazing. Blessing is inspiring. And so many people out there, I meet a lot of people out there who are reading. You think the reading culture is dead? There are people out there who are still reading. And if you have not developed that culture or that habit, please try your best to develop it. It's very powerful, very life-changing. But if the ship has gone past you, make sure your children don't miss it. Okay? So let's get to hear from you, your thoughts about this episode. Also share with us your reading habits, what you're reading now, your reading culture. We will pick 2 people randomly from our social media platforms. We've got book gifts for you. I will send them to you. So make sure you go on our X, Instagram, put something there, and hopefully you win free copies of the books we're giving out. Well, my name is Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.